Andrew Sandy Irvine's disappearance on Mount Everest in 1924, along with his climbing partner George Mallory, is one of the most enduring mysteries in the history of mountaineering. Mallory and Irvine were part of the British Mount Everest expedition, driven by the goal of being the first to reach the summit of the world's highest peak. At the time, Everest had never been conquered, and the idea of reaching its summit had captivated adventurers and explorers alike. However, it was also a feat fraught with danger, as the equipment and knowledge of high-altitude climbing were far less advanced than they are today. On June 8, 1924, Mallory and Irvine set off from their high camp, located around 26,800 feet, aiming for the summit. Irvine, only 22 years old, was a relatively inexperienced climber compared to Mallory, but he had been chosen to accompany Mallory due to his engineering expertise. He was adept at maintaining the expedition's oxygen equipment, a vital tool for such an endeavor. The two men were last seen by Noel Odell, a fellow climber on the expedition, who was observing them through a telescope from a lower camp. According to Odell, Mallory and Irvine appeared to be making good progress, climbing up what he believed to be the second step, one of the final technical obstacles before the summit. Odell's sighting around 12:50 p.m. that day was the last confirmed glimpse of Mallory and Irvine. The weather conditions quickly worsened, and they never returned to camp. A massive search effort was launched, but no trace of the two men was found, leaving the question of whether they had successfully summited before their deaths unanswered. For decades, the disappearance of Mallory and Irvine remained a mystery, with speculation mounting as to their fate. The most tantalizing aspect of the mystery was the possibility that they had reached the summit before succumbing to exhaustion or the elements on their descent. If they had, this would mean that Mallory and Irvine had been the first people to stand on top of the world, nearly 3 decades before Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay made the first officially recorded ascent in 1953. In 1999, an American-led expedition set out to search for evidence of the climber's fate, and on May 1st, they made a dramatic discovery. George Mallory's body was found on the north face of Everest at an altitude of approximately 26,760 feet. The body, remarkably well preserved by the freezing conditions, was found lying face down, with arms outstretched as if attempting to arrest a fall. Mallory had sustained a serious injury, with a broken leg and a rope injury around his waist, suggesting that he had fallen while roped to Irvine. However, no trace of Irvine was found at the time. Mallory's discovery, while significant, did not answer the central question: had he and Irvine reached the summit? Mallory was not carrying the camera that could have provided photographic evidence, and Irvine's body, and with it the camera, remained lost somewhere on the mountain. Adding to the mystery, Mallory was found without his goggles on, which some speculated could indicate he had fallen at night, perhaps after having already made a summit attempt. Since the discovery of Mallory's body, expeditions have continued to search for Irvine. Irvine was believed to have been carrying a Kodak camera, and due to the cold temperatures at Everest's high altitudes, experts have suggested that any film inside the camera might still be recoverable, potentially revealing if they had indeed reached the summit. Over the years, various clues have emerged, but none have led to a conclusive discovery. Several theories about Irvine's location have surfaced. One theory is that Irvine might be located near the summit ridge, perhaps having fallen into a crevasse. Some climbers have reported seeing pieces of old equipment scattered on the slopes, which might belong to Irvine, but nothing definitive has been found. The treacherous conditions and ever-shifting ice and snow make such discoveries exceedingly difficult. Theories abound as to what might have occurred that fateful day in 1924. One hypothesis is that Mallory and Irvine did make it to the summit, but succumbed to exhaustion or were caught in a storm on the way down. Mallory's body was found with ice hole in his forehead, which some experts believe may have been caused by an ice axe injury during a fall. The fact that he was roped suggests that Irvine may have been with him at the time of the fall. Other experts believe that they may have turned back before reaching the summit, overwhelmed by the difficulty of the final obstacles and the deteriorating weather. The second step, which is a 40-foot rock face, is considered one of the most challenging sections of the climb. Modern climbers often use a ladder to scale it, but Mallory and Irvine would have had to free climb this section, adding to the uncertainty of whether they could have made it past this obstacle. The recent discovery by climbers, reported to potentially be connected to Irvine, has reignited hopes that the mystery may soon be solved. While the details are still being verified, the speculation centers around the possibility that Irvine's body or equipment may have been found. If this is true, and if Irvine's camera is still intact, it could provide the most significant evidence yet in the quest to determine whether Mallory and Irvine were the first to stand on top of Everest. The idea that nearly 100 years after the expedition, a new discovery might finally shed light on what happened to these pioneering climbers is extraordinary. The search for Irvine's body has captivated the climbing community for decades, and if this latest find proves conclusive, it could bring closure to one of mountaineering's greatest unsolved mysteries. However, the harsh and unpredictable conditions of Everest mean that verifying and recovering the evidence remains an enormous challenge. Regardless of whether Mallory and Irvine reach the summit, their bravery and ambition have left an indelible mark on the history of exploration. The mystery surrounding their disappearance has only added to their legacy, making them enduring figures in the story of human determination to conquer the world's most formidable natural obstacles.